What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Talk To Me here on NotFest.com. As always, I am Joshua Toomey, joined by the one and only Chris Akin. Chris, how are we feeling this week?
Better, a little better. Had the doctor's appointment on Tuesday, and they were happy with the improvement. Let me stress again, they were happy.
Right.
I was not. I still am hurting. Like right now, my neck is just fucking telling me that it's there. But it's better. Somewhat better. I've been able to I did the full Chris Akin Presents the other night, full 2 hours. And then when I was done, I didn't have to go and cry. Right. I was able to actually just kind of throw a bag of ice on for about a half hour and I was good. And I did a whole CMS on Saturday. So I did it from bed, though. I just did it without putting my face on the screen so that I could do the whole 6 hours. And it didn't make that much difference. I'm an ugly fuck anyway. So,
it's so
probably
handsome,
better.
Chris.
Well, it was good because I took all the pictures that I have with like really hotties. Yeah. All the different hottie pictures that I have. And I put that up with a little on the phone underneath it so that you get an actual better aesthetic than if I was just on it. It was like Taylor Momsen and nice. Mariah Formica and who else? I had like 4 or 5 of them. Jeff Tate's daughter, Amanda, or Miranda. I had like 3 or 4 of those so that it played nicely, I guess, and people weren't so devastated not to see this old fucking gray beard and
your dyed hair.
Yeah, my dyed hair. They didn't have to look at hippie Santa Claus.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're improving and getting better, so I will take that.
Yeah, I'll take it. I just hope I'm supposed to go see Queensryche and Trauma in 2 weeks, and I don't know. It's one of those. It's a 2-hour drive each way plus the show, and I'm like, I don't know if I got 10 hours on this arm.
It's not at the Roxino.
No, it's at it's somewhere out by my pinball place.
Oh, nice.
Because me and John Drake and his partner Brian, that does the Talking Into Infinity podcast, we were all going to go. Yeah, but it looks like somebody's getting a free ticket. Formerly my chair, somebody's getting that.
Steph, you get to go see Queensryche and Trauma.
She won't go. She goes to bed at 7:00 at night. Yeah. She's 40, going on 90.
Aren't we all? I think does Trauma still have the old bass player from Testament in the band?
I don't know who's in Trauma anymore. I don't know that anybody of note is in Trauma anymore. I know the guy that was the long-standing guy, Donnie Hillier. He passed away like 2 years ago or something. So now it's like, I don't know, Scab Trauma, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So, no Cliff Burton, no Trauma, man.
Yeah, well, whatever. Even with Cliff Burton, did anybody know Trauma? I don't think so.
I think that's one of those deals where Trauma is one of those bands that they could, even though no one's really ever listened to Trauma, like you still have that, like, well, Cliff Burton was in Trauma, and that's where Metallica found him, so somewhat of a name for the poster.
Yeah, but that's it though. I mean, I love that whole scene, that whole 80s thrash. It's probably my favorite scene of all the scenes that are out there. And that being said, other than the movie Murder in the Front Row, you never hear anybody from that scene when they talk about that scene talk about Trauma. Other than the one story of Kirk went up to a show and he saw Trauma and he talked to Cliff, and then Cliff joined Metallica. That's the only story you've ever heard about Trauma, ever.
I still love the story of Cliff wouldn't join Metallica unless they moved to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they knew that Cliff was so good that they're like, yeah, let's fucking do it. They knew that. I mean, they obviously knew that the San Francisco scene was popping and the LA scene was not for popping for them, I guess. And they're like, well, fuck it. We'll move to San Francisco to get Cliff Burton in the band.
Do you not think, though, that's a folklore story that's grown since the early days?
I don't know, man.
Don't you think that they had probably already decided LA is not for us? We're getting the fuck out of here. Oh, and we met this guy. And by the way, he's pretty goddamn good.
I mean, I could see them definitely thinking, like, talking amongst themselves, saying, we probably need to get to San Francisco. And then just so happens the bass player we want's also there, and his one demand is that we move there. But I mean, they were young when Cliff joined the band, like 18, 19. I mean, when you're that age, you're like fucking, I moved to Louisville just to join Primer, and I was like 23. Like, so at 18, I would have done anything, like fucking let's go.
Yeah. Back then, they might have wanted to move to LA for the sole reason of none of the stores knew them to know that they were stealing from them. So, right. I mean, anybody that's seen any of those old, Cliff 'em All video or whatnot knows that those guys were scumbag thieves before they became Metallica. Right. So, maybe they just were getting the hell out of Dodge. Who knows? Who remembers at this point?
Yeah, I still think that just from my knowledge of being in bands and being around dudes, and especially being that young, I think that, I tend to believe the story, even if it's, partially true, all the way true, partially, fabricated or whatever. I still think that's a pretty believable story from the time.
Well, it wouldn't shock me. The only difference between the Primer story and the Metallica story was Primer, there was like proof that it could happen.
Yeah, it was already established.
There was no proof that a band that was sounding like Metallica could happen in L.A., San Francisco, Guam, Haiti, Ohio, anywhere, Like,
I think that by the time Cliff joined Metallica, I mean, they were already starting getting a buzz in San Francisco. I mean, they'd already played up there a couple of times, and I remember like 12 Volt Negative Earth. We lost a guitar player, and we had played a bunch of shows with a band called Big Blue Monkey out of St. Louis.
Okay.
Big Blue Monkey became Story of the Year, but before they became Story of the Year, their guitar player Ryan was, in Big Blue Monkey, went on to obviously go on to Story of the Year, but we lost a guitar player, and I was on the phone with him for like an hour or two trying to get him into 12 Volt Negative Earth just because he's such a great guitar player. And it was funny when I interviewed him for the podcast years and years ago. He was like, "You know what? I never told the other guys that you guys were trying to, basically steal me away." But
nice.
I mean, so that being said, I could see Cliff seeing them as talent. I could see Metallica seeing Cliff as talent, and wanting to be together, especially obviously years before file sharing and all that stuff is happening. You have to be in the same town with your bandmates to make anything happen.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to know for sure, because the other piece of that puzzle is Cliff really wasn't into that music.
Yeah,
everybody forgets that Cliff was like into like the Eagles and stuff like that. He was not a metal guy. He was a rock guy that just ended up in the most ferocious metal band in the world at the time.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, look, it's great stories to tell, and God knows, I bet you if you ask any of those old heads that were around in 81, 82, 80, in that time period, I would bet you to a man, none of them, including the four guys in Metallica, would have ever said, yeah, these are the four guys that are going to turn the world over. Right. Everybody I've ever talked to has said the same thing. Everyone thought it was Exodus. Every single person thought that Exodus was going to be the breakout band, and hoped that some of the other bands, the Metallicas, the Megadeths, the Testaments, or whatever they were called before, the Ritual or whatever.
Legacy.
They hoped that all of those bands would get pulled up with them. Yeah. They never thought Metallica. They thought Metallica was great, but they didn't think they thought Metallica was too heavy for what was going on.
Yeah, which is crazy now looking back at like Kill 'Em All and thinking that, how many people have told the story of like, I put Kill 'Em All on the turntable and I thought I had it on the wrong speed because it was playing so fast, shit like that.
Oh yeah.
And you look back on Kill 'Em All now and it's so tame compared to a lot of stuff. Great album. But
I still remember I got into Metallica in 84, I guess it would have been, on Ride the Lightning. Yeah. And I got into them because I saw them at the CMJ convention. They were my high school radio station took a field trip to the CMJ, and we went, and they had this music room where you could watch bands play. So late one night, Metallica was playing, and I went in and I see Metallica. And at this time, I was a total dork. I mean, I'm listening to,
What's changed, Chris? What's changed?
Yeah, not much, but I mean, my listening habits were very dorky. The heaviest thing I owned at that time was like Quiet Riot, maybe.
Okay.
And that was like the heaviest thing. Most of the stuff I had was Corey Hart, Sunglasses at Night, and The Romantics, The Secrets That You Keep. What is that song? When You're Talking in Your Sleep? Whatever that song was, The Romantics, Corey Hart, Prince. That's what I was listening to. And quite honestly, even stuff like AC/DC or Motley Crue was just in my car or in my house, so that when I had friends that were into real music come over, I could look sort of cool. I didn't have to have my Led Zeppelin friends come over and then look at me playing John Cougar Mellencamp or whatever. I was trying to have like cool factor. Yeah. And then I saw Metallica, and that was it. And Lars gave me a copy of Ride the Lightning the last day of CMJ, and he signed it. Still have it around here somewhere. It says, "Buy our shit, please, Lars." Like across the, yeah, right. Pretty much. But I just remember when I came home from that CMJ and I was playing that album, and it scared my dad to death. My dad was like, "What happened to you? Right. You left here and you were listening to decent music," because my dad's like Lionel Richie and shit like that, Culture Club, and I left sort of in that world, and I came back in the Metallica world, and he was like, "What the fuck happened?"
I should have never let you go on that field trip.
Exactly.
Well, quickly before we dive into the news, man, Mark Heilman of Suicide Silence was the guest this week on the podcast. Cool. Fun, about 25-minute conversation with him, man. And that new Suicide Silence album is amazing. So,
it's really good.
I'm definitely digging the hell out of that. And he was a cool guy, man. I saw them, God, that was like 2003 or 4 on like one of their very first actual tours, across the country or whatever. And it's funny how they've got that underlying new metal influence to them, because the buddy and I went to that show and we're like, man, this guy's just kind of sound like really heavy Korn.
Right.
They had such like a new metal undertone, but it's cool to see those guys still going, man, like 20 years later, and just continuing to put out good stuff.
And overcoming, the tragedy that usually kills everybody. A tragedy like that is usually the end of the band. Yeah. And they absolutely overcame it, because the music, not trying to diminish what that guy did as just music, because obviously he's a human being too. But, Suicide Silence, I think they're making better music than they ever did now.
Yeah, that's a tough one, just because Mitch was such a huge presence of that band, and like almost like a poster boy of the scene even. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy that they kind of overcame all of that. It's funny that I noticed on a couple of the festivals that have been announced that they were playing the same day as Pantera on a lot of those dates. So I brought that up, and he goes, "Actually, we played the first and third Pantera shows back." So I was just like, that completely derails the the podcast, and I've got to think, well, what did you think? How was it a person?
Nice.
There's 10 minutes of me and him talking about Pantera.
Oh, that's cool.
But the only thing he did say that he thought, like, because I said, they did the one thing I wanted them to do, logo on fire, flames everywhere, light show, and blah blah blah. And he said, Pantera was really never really known for their live show. And I'm like, what? For being that big of a live show? And I was just like, all right, man. Like, I don't know about that.
I don't agree with that. It was a huge live. I mean, it was maybe not the highest. I mean, the only tour that I remember being really stage big was Reinventing the Steel, because Reinventing was when they did all the flames and the on fire logo and all that stuff. And I remember Big Tarp on like Great Southern Trendkill, the giant snake tarp and the behind them, and it was huge.
They had all the pentagrams and stuff on the light show. Going all over,
mm-hmm. But it wasn't necessarily a fire and brimstone-ish type of a stage. Now, I saw it at an outdoor, at an amphitheater, so maybe that's why.
Well, I will say that like they were always known for a light show. Like that's one big thing with them was always the light show and stuff. So I did get taken aback when he said that, but I was like, I'm not gonna argue with the Suicide Silence guy on the podcast.
Now,
like,
wait
what
a minute,
are you talking
sir?
about, man?
You don't know shit about Pantera.
All right, your metal card is revoked.
That's right.
Get at.
Beat it.
All right. Well, speaking of some festivals,
all right.
Louder Than Life, as we are recording, was announced today, and Aftershocks was announced the other day, but we'll go Louder Than Life just because obviously that one is in my backyard, and that's the one I will be most likely going to.
All right.
Pretty solid lineup, man. We'll just kind of start on Thursday. Foo Fighters, Weezer, Rancid, 311, Coheed and Cambria, Royal Blood, Code Orange, White Reaper, L7, Deaf Heaven, Nothing But Thieves, blah blah blah, Movements, The Bronx, Mannequin Pussy. That's always a good band, right? And then it just kind of goes on and on from there. King is also on the bill, and then local heroes here, Guerrilla Warfare on that day. But pretty solid day. I mean, you could definitely tell they've got some themes for the day.
Sure.
And I would like to see. I've never seen the Foo Fighters actually. Weezer is always actually pretty good live. Rancid, I would love to see. I haven't seen them since the 90s, and then I'm always down to see some 311, and I definitely want to see Coheed and Cambria. So pretty top heavy, but I'll definitely be checking that one out.
Not that I'll be coming to your neighborhood, but if I was, I'd be coming on Friday.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
that is not my lineup at all. I don't like any of those bands. I like Coheed. I do really, really like Coheed. But every other band that you named in that list, no. I never liked that whole Rancid, fake pop punk. If you're gonna be a punk band, be a punk band. Don't be a fake punk band. That was always my thought.
I don't know, man. Rancid, came out of the ashes of Operation Ivy and all that stuff. So
out of the ashes, like they left it behind. They said, well, we were in a punk band, but look at how much money Green Day is making. All right, we'll take that route.
Ooh, I don't know about that one. And Out Come the Wolves is a fucking masterpiece of a record. And the bass player,
really,
the bass player is a fucking monster.
No, I mean the album. I don't know.
No, I love the album. Yeah.
Do you really? Wow.
I do.
So never leave your man card at the door.
Man card, metal card,
all of it.
Driver's license. Foo Fighters, never seen them live. I think that they obviously put on a great show live. Pretty sure it'll get emotional, all that stuff. And then saw Weezer a few years ago, still killer live. So very top heavy. Saw 311 probably 7-8 years ago.
311's good live.
Always a big fan.
Yeah, I like that.
So Thursday. Nice little ease into the weekend, but Friday.
Yeah.
Oh man, Tool, Godsmack, Limp Bizkit, Megadeth, Corey Taylor Solo, Dance Gavin Dance, Bad Omens, Wage War, Avatar, Fever 333, Kittie, Enter Shikari, Miss May I, Fame on Fire, Dead Poet Society, on and on and on. 1056, Widow 7, Gnome, Atala. So yeah, Friday is
that's a good night.
Day.
That's a good night there. That's the kind that you won't feel bad being there from like noon till midnight.
Right. Yeah, this was definitely, again, these headliners are killer, man. Tool, obviously great live band. Godsmack, don't really care to see them. I did see them at whatever Ozfest one year. Not a terrible live band, but I'm just not a fan.
They sound great, but they're boring. To me, they were always three guys just playing their instruments and Sully walking the stage. Right. And let's be honest, they are the modern day AC/DC. Can we all agree that every song sounds the same?
Well, yeah, I give you that. It's tough.
That's what I mean. That's what
okay. I was like, I don't know if they're the modern day
I mean, in regards to every song that they perform sounds like every other song that they've performed. There's very little variation. Another one's Disturbed. Disturbed's another one. Every song they do sounds like every other song they've done.
And which none have been good.
Stop. You don't like any Disturbed?
No. I just that's one band I just never.
Not even
into.
the first album, like Dropping Plates on Your Ass, bitch.
Yeah, like as soon as I heard that, I was just like, this is corny.
I loved it.
This is cornball dropping plates. Come on. Limp Bizkit, Megadeth. You get back to back Megadeth into Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, that's an interesting move.
That's like,
that'd be great though.
What, 15, 16-year-old me freaking out,
Hell yeah. Limp Bizkit rules live.
Oh yeah.
I know that's sacrilege, and I know that's going to bring us how many comments about my stupid dyed hair and whatever. But Limp Bizkit is
Yeah.
I will say of that era of bands, them or Rammstein, best live band.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. Limp Bizkit's always been killer live.
Yeah.
Even in those like lean years where people were like kind of doubting them, man. I saw them actually is it Louder Than Life like 2016 or whatever, and they truly weren't dad vibing it back. They were still kind of Rock's Bad Word or something like that, or
right. But even with the dad vibe look and the dad vibe thing, and I have not seen it live per se, but I've seen quite a few videos of that, and seeing the videos, they're still bringing it hard, just in a different way. It looks fun. It looks fun to me.
And then obviously Megadeth, can't go wrong there.
No.
Corey Taylor solo, hopefully a little shout out there.
What do you think that's going to sound like, Corey Taylor solo record? Do you think it's going to be metal, or do you think it's going to be weird?
I mean, he already had the one solo album. I mean, this will be a second one. It's just rock, it's like a rock record.
Yeah. I'm just curious if he's going to try and be more, now that Stone Sour's kind of, what are they calling it, on hiatus, or?
It's almost like his first solo album is almost like more mainstream Stone Sour.
Yeah. Well, but now that Stone Sour's not there anymore, does he go into that heavier direction and bring some 30-30-150 action to the solo band now?
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
Kind of going down here, Wage War, obviously a friend of the show, Avatar, friends of the show.
Right.
And then the biggest name on here as a friend of the show is Kittie, man. It's awesome to see those ladies popping up on these festivals again.
Yeah, good for them.
Miss May I, also friends of the show.
All right,
so
it's called Toomey Fest, isn't it? Isn't it just called Toomey Fest?
Let's see here. I've interviewed members of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 of the bands that day. So yeah.
So that's day Toomey.
Oh, nice. You got day 1 and day
1 and day Toomey.
All right, and the Saturday. Avenged Sevenfold, Pantera, Falling in Reverse, Pierce the Veil, Parkway Drive, Baby Metal, Asking Alexandria, Death Clock, The Who, The Amity Affliction, Memphis May Fire, Suicide Silence, Sleep Token, Whitechapel, 0936, Gideon, Strange Kids, Dragged Under, Jesus Peace, Devil's Cut, and we'll end with Feast for the Crows.
Can't beat that day. Good Lord.
Right.
That's a lot of good, especially the first 6 or 7 you named are all great.
Yeah.
I know some people probably question Avenged Sevenfold, especially following Pantera. That might be a little hard for them, but
I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Other than that, other than going from Pantera's Roar to Avenged Sevenfold's, rock sort of metal.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, that's a great lineup, and I guess it'll be all right for Avenged because, let's face it, you'll know every song.
Oh yeah, by now, yeah.
You'll know every tune they're playing except for the new 3 that they'll mix in.
Yeah. So yeah, Avenged Sevenfold. I don't think I've ever seen them live, and the actually for later in the show when we talk about what's going on with the suggestions and whatnot, they're going to pop up again. But a band that I love that I've never seen live, so I'll definitely love to see Avenged Sevenfold.
You've never seen them, really?
No, I haven't.
All the shows you've seen, that's strange. Wow.
Yeah, that is a weird one not to have seen. Obviously Pantera. Falling in Reverse, always I'm loving what Ronnie Radke's been up to, and so yeah, the music Falling in Reverse, can't wait for that one. Pierce the Veil, Parkway Drive, always a great live show. The new Baby Metal actually seems to be pretty good. So
I have not. This is going to sound very, very, very uninformed, but I've never listened to them. Like not one song.
Yeah.
I've heard clips, but not one whole song have I ever heard of them. I know the name.
Yeah, I don't know how much I've actually, I guess now that you say that, I don't know how many full Baby Metal songs I've listened to either. But I do enjoy what they do. I think it'll be fun to see live, so I will enjoy seeing them live.
Yeah, and you know what? They're probably I have a feeling that just because of all of the accolades that they've gotten from a lot of people who I do like, you know, musically, I got a feeling if I ever do sit down and listen to it, they'll become one of my favorites. I'll be like, all right, this is cool. You know, right? But just as of now, you know, there's just something. I know what it is, and it's completely stupid. And go ahead and call me an asshole for this, but there's this wrestler in AEW called Riho. She's a Japanese wrestler, and she weighs like 90 pounds.
Right.
But she wins. They like force feed her to win all the time. And it makes me annoyed that she wins all the time. Well, she looks like the girls in Baby Metal.
Okay.
So it's like a subconscious mind fuck that I don't like Baby Metal because of this Riho that I can't stand in AEW. It's the dumbest shit. I know it's stupid.
No, I can see that.
I know it's dumb though. I know it's like they've probably never even heard of Riho. Right. You know, let alone they have nothing to do with her. But for some reason I let that stupidity affect my judgment into listening to this band. It's dumb.
And then hopefully Gene Hoglan will be out with Death Clock. That'll be good to see live if he's actually playing these live shows with them. And then
who else would?
Dave Lombardo. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be because Testament's not out, right? He's in Testament now. Is that right?
No, Dave Lombardo is in Testament.
Okay, yeah. God. Just
Gene's been doing Dark Angel again.
Well, that's probably canceled.
Right.
You know, because Durkin died. So I'd imagine the Dark Angel tour is done.
Well, I think he actually missed the last couple of tours or this last tour.
Did he?
I think so, if I remember reading it right.
Okay.
Because I just talked to Gene's like right-hand man like a couple of days before that, and I know that Dark Angel was out on tour like as this happened. So
all right, well, maybe, yeah, I don't know. I honestly lost track of them the same time everybody else did after Darkness Descends. You know, I mean, I love that album. It's one of the greatest of all time, but I never really followed up with them.
No, what's crazy too is that Darkness Descends, man. If you just put that album on and hit play, you're like, man, Metallica really ripped them off. I mean, the Darkness Descends starts with the outro to One. You know, like it's almost dead on. And Gene and I think had an off the record conversation about that. You know, how that riff was just like almost too good to be true. And I think you and I watched a video a long time ago about all these like riffs that are very similar to riffs that Metallica wrote after the fact.
Yeah.
And, And I mean, sometimes you're just like, all right, that's close. And then sometimes you're like, Jesus Christ, like even like the like Enter Sandman and stuff and all that nonsense.
Yeah, there's a video out there it's on YouTube or Facebook or something called Metallica Stole Riffs.
Okay.
And if you check it out, it goes through like 10 or 11 songs that either Metallica stole from somebody else or times where they took a riff from the early days of their band and just regurgitated it and changed the speed of it into later songs in the Metallica catalog.
Yeah, it's pretty scary watching some of that. Like, Metallica stole riffs? Yeah,
of course they did. They're the Led Zeppelin of their day. But I love them.
Right, and I can't wait to see them
again. I'm going. I can't wait. It'll be this summer will be time number 44 and 45 for me. So me saying that they ripped them off, it doesn't mean that I'm a hater. I'm definitely not a hater. Right. I love them.
Sunday, September 24th. Green Day, Queens of the Stone Age, Turnstile, Run the Jewels, Flogging Molly, The Interrupters, AWOL Nation, Rival Sons, Billy Talent, Mayday Parade, You Me at Six, Senses Fail, The Viagra Boys, Boston Manor, the Emo Night Tour. I didn't realize that was on here. So that's kind of that day. And honestly, I could skip Sunday altogether.
I was going to say that's the get up at noon, hit Denny's, and drive home day.
Right? One band I've never seen live, which I would like to see live, is Green Day, but I don't know if it's enough to go and fight a festival for the day.
If you like Green Day, they're pretty fun.
Yeah,
I personally don't, so they're
they're not fun.
I took my kid one year. My kid was real into American Idiot when that was out, so I took her to see that, and it was a very long hour and 20 minutes for me. It was a very long hour and a half, but my kid loved it, so I'll take it at that word that my kid loved it. Must be good for if you're into them.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Actually, speaking of the site where this is at, where Louder Than Life takes place, like 2 weeks before they do Bourbon and Beyond, which is like a little bit more of a rock festival.
Right.
But the final day of that festival is being headlined by Bruno Mars, and I'm tempted to maybe try to get press passes just to see Bruno Mars.
Right. Dude, how crazy is that? Bruno Mars finally coming back. When's the last time he was out? It's been like 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And that's the kind of metal talk you're going to get here on Talk to Me.
Right. Bruno Mars. Great.
Right.
Let's dive into a little bit of news.
All right.
Metallica's Lars Ulrich says that Lulu, the Lulu album has aged extremely well and blames ignorance for scathing reaction from fans.
Shut up, Lars. Shut up. Shut up. It wasn't birthed well. It isn't aged well. The only thing it can do is die well. It needs to die, my darling. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. That album is terrible. It was terrible from minute one. I Am the Table is fucking trash. The whole record is garbage. Stop trying to justify it. This is the one of many reasons that I fucking have a real problem with Lars these days, because this guy can never accept his own failures. He's the same guy that will tell you that even though no one appreciated it, and I've heard him say that word, appreciated it, the production on Saint Anger was cutting edge. He's still clinging to that. No, it wasn't. It was terrible. Lulu was terrible. Terrible. It was terrible for Metallica. It was terrible for Lou Reed. It was terrible as a mix. Everybody hated it. It isn't that the whole world got monumentally stupid and you were brilliant. Turn it around, dickhead. You were stupid. The world got it right. Your album sucked. Accept it.
Yeah, we did Lulu as part of the Decibel Geek podcast, where I did the best and worst of the post Black albums or whatever.
Sure.
And I had to listen to Lulu like start to finish to figure out a best song and worst song. And I had to like go through it a few times. I'll be like, there's nothing good on here.
There's not.
It's pretty rough.
You know how people accused Death Magnetic as just being a collection of riffs that they just kind of sewed together?
Right.
It's like the pieces that wouldn't fit for that record were the throwaways that became the pieces that became Lulu. There's just some weird changes in it. And look, not for nothing, Lou Reed might be the most overrated rock star in the history of that shit. There's nobody worse that had more success than that guy. No one. Not Elvis Costello, not David Johansen. Nobody was worse than Lou Reed with his hipster fucking douchebag rock. He sucks. He always did. And him working with Metallica just brought Metallica's level down. You can't get me to stop talking about how bad that fucking record was. You know how hard it was to be a Metallica fan and try to defend them from that? Holy fuck.
I don't think I ever tried to defend that one. And Chris, I think it's ignorance is the reason you don't like Lulu.
Yeah, maybe so. I'm just a dumb. Then I will happily be a dumb fuck in Lars Ulrich's mind, because if my option to be brilliant is to listen to that shit, I'd rather be a moron.
Oh man! Speaking of, we're not going to say morons, but speaking of,
left you in a tough spot there, didn't I?
Yeah, I know the transition was wrong there. But speaking of one of our favorite albums from last year, singer-songwriter there. Machine Head's Robb Flynn calls out Rolling Stone for failing to include Exodus and Testament on its greatest metal songs list.
Okay. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not really a huge fan of Robb Flynn. I love his music. I don't like him personally, but I will say he's not wrong there. I mean, Testament should have definitely gotten some love there. Overkill should have gotten some love there. I'm kind of torn on this list in general. I don't think the list is very good, personally. That being said, I think it's the greatest list ever because they quoted from me on it, which makes which makes me super happy. When I saw my own name in the Rolling Stone list, I was like, "Look at this! I'm a fucking player."
Yeah, we're gonna dive into that list in a couple of weeks, a little bit more. I went through the list and I really had really too many arguments with the list. And
I got a few. Well, I'll share one, but since I have a few,
okay.
And this is just more not necessarily only Rolling Stone, but Rolling Stone gets to get smacked for this. Led Zeppelin does not get included in greatest metal of all time anymore. Stop it. Just stop it. It's not metal. The Immigrant Song is not metal. It's fast rock. It's not metal.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, just because like the Papa has. Well, no, I'm just saying they've got. I don't consider AC/DC metal, and
I don't. Again, I wasn't going to name them all.
Okay,
but I was going to say for sure.
Yeah,
the band that came out the same time as Black Sabbath and was clearly radio ready when Black Sabbath was scaring people.
Right.
That band does not belong in the top 10. Again, Immigrant Song's in top 10, I think. That's not a top 10 metal song.
18.
Okay, so top 20. Still, it's not top 20. It's not top 20 when you don't have anything from Exodus, anything from Testament. You have like 5 Metallica songs. You don't. Yeah, there's again. I don't want to get into this because we will go on and on and on.
Right.
But Robb Flynn getting Davidian in there is a little questionable to me. But
I don't know how I like it being in there. But
I like the song. Top 100 of all time. Pretty high praise.
If I'm doing 100 metal songs, I think Davidian sneaks in there.
Okay, if you're doing top 5 Machine Head songs, is it number 1?
Ooh,
not to me.
I guess I can see that. I think
so. Then how can it be one of the top 100 and not Block or one of those tunes?
Well, I mean that's even like the what we're gonna get way too into it, but I mean obviously the Pantera song "Walk" is on there, and that's definitely not my favorite Pantera song.
Fuck no! And how is Cowboys from Hell not in there?
Exactly.
We're already way into this thing.
It's going to be a special episode. So.
No more talking about this. So moving forward, to Robb Flynn's former band, Vio-lence. Yes.
They recently played a show in Melbourne, and had 0 original members of the band on stage. So, Sean Killian explains his absence from the Melbourne concert and blasts haters.
Yeah, I saw this.
Let's see here. He says,
read a little of this. Go ahead and read a little of this.
Got a little food poisoning the other day that fucked my whole day up and a couple of days after. Thank God we had some time off, but yeah, I ate something for breakfast. I think it was these shitty mushrooms or something. And I went out to sound check, felt okay, and then all of a sudden got my ass kicked. I puked a couple of times. You know how it is with food poisoning. It comes out of both ends. So that's been the difficult last couple of days. Unfortunately, I missed playing in Melbourne, which I was really looking forward to because it was a great club, great crowd, and we'll definitely be back. I'll figure out a way to get back there and make that show up. I know Jason stepped in and did his best because we were just thinking we either don't play for the fans. Oh, sorry. And the fans go home with half a night and half a belly of whiskey instead of a full belly. What a ridiculous line.
Yeah, what a dumb statement that is, but okay.
So I talked to the promoter, and he found a guy that's in a band, Jason, and he went up and just did his best. Dude,
yeah,
I don't want anybody up there just doing his best.
Yeah, especially I found a guy. That doesn't even mean the guy's a band guy. It could just be a fan.
True. Or he the promoter knew a guy that had been in a band one time. He's
all right,
Jason,
dude,
get up here.
Hold on, stop for a second. You're in bands. You've been in bands. You know every goddamn band on the planet. Do you think off the top of your head, if I gave you 5 hours or 10 hours, if I gave you one day, you could come back to me tomorrow and say, here, this guy knows 15 Vio-lence songs?
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying. They got just some guy. It's got to just be some guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm mixed on this whole thing personally. There's definitely a part of me that is like, you know what? You cancel the show, you refund the money.
Yeah.
And if it was here in the States, that's what I think should have happened. But given that it's over in Australia and knowing some Australian people and how hardcore they are because they don't get many shows.
Yeah.
Because the bands just cannot afford to go to Australia. I have and again, I don't know this, but I have a hunch that the Australian fans were just fine with it. That they were okay with it, especially with the Killian saying, I will get back here. We're thrilled, but we're okay that they got a show.
Right.
Instead of a cancellation that some of them have probably been waiting 6 months for or a year for. It's iffy. If it was here in the States, though, they'd have canceled that show. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I was looking through some of the comments to see if anybody went to the show. Yeah, it's just the fact that he says that, well, we'll be back. We'll make up the show. I'm like, dude, you're never going back to Australia.
Well, I was thinking that too. I mean, there's 5 guys in that band, I think, right?
Yeah.
So that's minimum 10 G's in plane tickets. That's before you get Hotel One or a sandwich, a Vegemite sandwich or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think they just hand those out.
Yeah. That's what the song says anyway. So yeah, they're not coming back. I don't know. I think the fans were probably okay that they got to hear the songs, which I guess is okay, but I don't know. Could go either way with that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one just to be halfway across the world, and they're probably not working with the biggest margins and things like that. So I mean, if they cancel the show, I mean that might just honestly bankrupt the tour. Right.
Might make it so they can't afford to get back.
Phil Dim will help. Let's see here. How about a ridiculous?
Go ahead. Before you go on from that, what do you think Demo's thinking? A week after saying I wanted the band to stop.
Yeah, he's probably just he's probably in his backyard working on something, putting up a fence or something, and just just shaking his head.
I go, man, thank God I'm not part of that.
Well, it would have made it more, authentic had he actually played.
Yeah, true.
Your good friend Tim Ripper Owens.
Yes, new Pantera singer.
Said he would absolutely step in for Phil Anselmo on Pantera's Celebration Tour. What a bizarre statement.
First of all, who asks that question? How does that question get asked?
Oh, well, let's see here. In a new interview with DJ Zoran Theodorovic of Metal Gods Radio.
Oh.
Asked if he would asked Ripper Owens if he would be up to the task of stepping in for Phil Anselmo if he was approached about it. What makes you ask that question?
I don't know. Other than maybe they saw a photo of him hanging out with them backstage or something. I don't know.
I mean, it could be just taking the question out of context. Maybe they were just yucking it up and that popped out. But it would be strange if Zoran Theodorovic sat down to do the interview and that was question 12.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a weird question to say the least, but I'll tell you this: do you follow the Metal Den at all?
A little bit. I know who they are.
Yeah, I usually enjoy them because they're not afraid. They're like the modern day Metal Sludge kind of a thing, and they but sometimes they throw out things just to test the waters, and they took this story in a ridiculously stupid direction. Their headline is Pantera to fire vocalist Phil Anselmo over racist outburst and replace him with Tim Ripper Owens.
I did see that. Yeah, I saw that actually.
It's like, come on. How are they going to fire Phil? Phil put this thing together.
Yeah. I do not think I would go see a Phil-less Pantera. Like, I'd be like, all right, no, this is too much.
You're not going to go see Rex Brown's Pantera?
Rex Brown's Pantera experience with Tim Ripper Owens on vocals.
Yeah. Can I get at least Terry Glaze in there? Sounds like from talking to him, he'd probably do it.
Yeah, I bet he would do that in a heartbeat.
I think we'd go see that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I would go see Terry Glaze's Pantera experience.
I would go see that too, but you can't. I mean, Phil's the one guy you can't fire. Who's going to fire him? Zach and Charlie? You know, I mean, who's going to fire Phil? It's the most ridiculous headline that I've seen in about, and usually Blabbermouth is usually pretty good at writing some clickbait doozies. But this thing, Pantera to fire Phil Anselmo. No, stop it. Just stop. That's never going to happen.
During an appearance on Smoke and Talk and Roll podcast.
Whoa.
This was a while back, but I think it's great as long as they don't say it's Pantera. It's not Pantera. It's a celebration of Pantera, is what Ripper had to say. I just wanted to throw in a Smoke and Talk and Roll podcast plug.
Look at that. Billy and Todd getting some love.
Let's see here. Morgan Lander says it's the perfect time for new Kittie music.
Is it?
It's always a good time for new Kittie. Come on, man.
I'll take your word for it. I love the girls. I mean, they're so nice, and I've known them and interviewed them and met them and actually had drinks with them from when they first started. First time they came through Cleveland, I think it was Peabody's Down Under, and they were like 17 or 18 or whatever. I think their mom was their manager, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like the parents were involved early on.
Yeah, and the mom was like totally shooing everybody away, and kept like even to do the interview. It was the old school interviews with the tape recorder and whatnot. And the mom made me sit down first, and then reposition the chairs so that I wouldn't be like touchable close to the girls. Like she was overly protective to do the interview, and always they've been sweethearts. Mercedes and Morgan have always been super sweet. So I don't want to say anything terrible, but I don't know, musically it never quite grabbed me. I think the closest they came was Oracle, and even that is kind of like, all right.
Well, I think her saying it's a perfect time, I would say that, with kind of the new metal resurgence over the last few years, I think it is a good time for new Kittie music.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why not? Maybe because there's so much girl power rock out there now? I think that could have something to do with it.
I mean, that could do. I think it's more of the over the years, the new metal thing kind of getting a little bit more credence to it.
Do you think Kittie would have done better now with up next to like the Gingers and Nervosas and Vicky Sirakis and those kind of bands?
No, I think they hit when they hit. I don't think they would stand a chance if they were a new band being compared to like Ginger and all those guys or all those girls.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they didn't stand much of a chance, and they carved their own niche. I will give them that. They did pretty well.
Yeah, and they've seemed to have a pretty good resurgence and people being excited to go see them and all that good stuff. All right, one last story before the recommendations here. Tony Campos says it's really up to the fans if Static X will continue making new music.
All right, then no. How's that?
Are you a fan saying you don't want new Static X?
I do not want new Static X, no. And I don't hate them, but I don't love them either. I don't know. Does that make me a fan? I liked Start a War. That was a good record. I liked the first one. That was a good record. Yeah. Do I go out of my way to see them? No. But no, Wayne was the guy. Wayne wrote the songs. If Wayne ain't written the songs, then I don't want to hear it.
What if they find 6 more albums worth of Wayne Static vocals, under the couch?
Look, I ain't even gonna say that I'm 1,000% convinced what they're saying is the Wayne stuff is the Wayne stuff. You're gonna have to prove that to me. Just magically coming up with another album's worth was a little much for me personally, but look, there is something to be said, and this is across the board for all bands. There's something to be said for when the guys die or when they retire. That's it. There doesn't need to be more and different incarnations or whatever. That was a special moment for people that were into that band. So enjoy the moments that you got with that band. And again, I don't have a problem with what they're doing now, where they're out there celebrating the music of him and having allegedly Etzel Dope pretend to be Wayne Static.
Oh, dude, nobody knows who Zero is.
I said allegedly. That's the rumor I've heard.
I don't know.
But from that rumor that I've heard, if that is indeed true, there's nothing wrong with them celebrating the music of the classic era of Static X. That's cool.
Yeah.
Carrying on, come on. Are you excited to see the new Pantera album? Or is that over the line?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
How is that any different than this?
What if they had? Well, I mean, I guess they do have. I've talked about this in the past. There's a, most of a second Damage Plan record out there recorded somewhere.
Yeah.
Grab those guitars, throw Phil on vocals. And
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. You know why? I'll tell you why not. Because the first batch of Damage Plan songs sucked and didn't feel anything like Pantera.
Yeah, but was that Pat or was that the band?
It was the band. Because then Vinny went right over to Hell Yeah and did the same thing.
Yeah, I'll never understand Hell Yeah. Like, I'll never understand why that band sounded like that.
But you don't think that Hell Yeah sounds pretty close to Damage Plan?
I mean, I guess I could
musically?
see it. Yeah.
Musically.
I can see it. Don't get me wrong. I just think it was more, I guess the Hell Yeah stuff, when I think of them as like alcohol and ass. And
yeah. Do you want to see Anselmo singing that?
Yes. Yeah, well, maybe he would turn it into like Suicide Note Part 4. You know what I'm saying?
No, he wouldn't have. He'd have been like, "No, I'm quitting this band. I'm starting another black demonic satanic band."
Right. Another poorly produced band.
Yeah, here's Necrophasia's brother.
But yeah, I would. I don't know. I was never the biggest Static X fan. They're a band that I'm actually surprised how big they are. Like, for them to be able to come back with with a robot singer and still like have this much buzz. I never realized they were maybe that big.
It always astounded me how they got so much bigger than like Gravity Kills or Union Underground or pick any one of those bands that was keyboard centric, industrial centric.
Right.
They were big. I mean, they were here, maybe not on the coasts. Here, Ohio, this was one of their hubs. They were big here. They played here a lot. Every time they toured, they played Ohio, Cleveland, 3, 4, 5 shows not in a row, but like they would come back through 3 or 4 or 5 times over the course of each album. They were a big band here. So I don't know. Then again, they also got booed off the stage at the Pantera Reinventing the Steel tour when it was, what was that? Them, Morbid Angel, Slayer, and Pantera. Yeah. And they were playing, and people were booing them like crazy.
Oh yeah.
and then people started chanting for Slayer, and fucking Wayne Static was like, "Maybe if you guys cheered for us, we'd play some more." And boy, that was the wrong thing to say, because then it just got ridiculous and shit flying at the stage. So they finally walked off. They walked off like 20 minutes into their set.
Yeah, that didn't sound like the best thing to say right there, especially before Slayer, man. That's
you just go through your motions with a Slayer. I mean, you're in front of Slayer and Pantera, and you're opened with Morbid Angel. You know, it was Morbid Angel, then Static X. So brutality,
right?
Then Static X, then more brutality, then Pantera. Not a good place for Static X.
Yeah, when I saw that tour, it was Pantera, Soulfly, Nothing Face, Morbid Angel.
Oh, now that's a better tour.
Yeah, it was a good one.
That's a good show there.
Yeah, I guess that was the last time I saw them was Chicago at the Allstate Arena.
Okay.
I think that was the last time I saw them. All right, man. Well, let's dive into some reviews, recommendations, what you've been watching, what you've been listening to. I'll start out with I started this new series on Amazon called Daisy Jones and the Six.
Okay.
It looks like it's kind of like it's obviously got like a little Almost Famous vibe to it. It's like kind of like a documentary of a fake band from the 70s with, you know, obviously cut-ins and, you know, the actors sitting down and talking about certain things, and then kind of like a behind the music type deal. But so far so good, man. It's kind of like looks like it's probably based on maybe the story of Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
You know, kind of that time period, and, you know, looks like some band members getting together and all that nonsense. So far so good, man. 2 episodes into it. Daisy Jones and the Six on Amazon.
Okay.
You know, seemed like something I would be into. And then listening to wise, the only thing I really wanted to talk about was the new Avenged Sevenfold single.
Yeah.
And have you listened to this at all?
I have. I did listen to it.
I just honestly, I posted on Facebook and I would just put like, I'm confused. Like,
yeah.
It's very like I'm holding out hope because I'm such a big fan of the band that this is just maybe part of a whole concept of an album.
Yeah.
You know, so this is just a piece of an album that's like, you know, a little, because they do sound like they're kind of going a little artsy fartsy, man. I was just like, it's like Muse meets Avenged Sevenfold with like some space vibe to it. And then all of a sudden a ripping guitar solo. And yeah, I'm just, I don't know how to feel about this new Avenged Sevenfold track.
My initial immediate reaction was, we waited so many years for this. You know, it's regardless of if the rest of it is good or not, this was a really bad choice for a first single.
That's what I'm thinking too.
It reminds me, and I know I'm going to catch hell for this because I'm not even, nobody's supposed to like this band, but it reminds me of that last Linkin Park record, the one with the artsy cut. Was it called Living Things or something Things? I don't remember what it was, but it was a terrible album. And I remember when the first single came out and I just heard it and I was like, what the fuck happened to these guys? And that's kind of what my initial reaction to this Avenged thing was like, this does not sound anything like Your Fucking Nightmare or stuff like that. Nothing like that. You know, I was like, ew, not good. So we'll see. I mean, let's have hope.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'll still check it out, man. But whew, not a good. I did read somebody that I know is in the Avenged Sevenfold camp, and they were kind of talking about this album, and it's someone I trust, and so they were like, you know, Avenged Sevenfold's about to change the game type stuff. So I'm gonna allow the entire album to you know, soak in and see if they've changed the game or not. So I'm curious to see where it goes from here.
Well, I hope it's a better game than they started out showing. I hope it gets better because
right, they've had a rough first quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike our Seattle Sea Dragons, who have been much better the last 2 weeks.
I watched a little bit of a game the other day, but I haven't been keeping up.
Come on, they're back.
What are they 2-2 now? I know
2-2. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. The quarterback guy that played for the Cowboys has been kicking ass, and
there you go.
Josh Gordon won a game the other day with a 64-yard bomb, like as time was running out. Nice. Yeah, the Sea Dragons are right back in it, man.
There we
they
go.
Beat the shit out of Hines Ward's what is he? The Arlington team.
Yeah.
Whatever that's called. The Arlington Astronauts or whatever. I know that's not it, but whatever it is.
Right.
I can't keep track of their dumb names, but whatever. All right. So you're up to me. I got nothing on TV. The only thing, since I've been laying in bed, I'm so sick of TV, I can't really watch much anymore. And I've just been watching police investigation or interrogations on YouTube. That's how boring my life is now. Just each one of those things is like 13 hours long, and I watch all 13 hours just because I'm bored to tears. But I have been listening to a lot of music.
Okay.
And I've narrowed down to one band that I want to recommend for the week. This band is not to be mistaken for a band that I know is a favorite of yours, Necrogoblicon. There's a new band out there called Necronomicon.
Okay.
And their album, which is out next month, is called Constant to Death. It is going to be my 1, 2, or 3 of album of the year.
Wow.
It is so fucking good. It's, for comparison, think Overkill-ish, but a better singer and like none of the 5 and 6 minute songs that Overkill has been doing for the last 15 years. Every song is like 2 and 3 minutes, and it is just blast after blast after blast to your skull. It's a fucking great record. 13 tracks, probably 40 minutes at the most. Awesome. So that is my band to look out for. The song Constant to Death is on YouTube right now if you want to check it out. But the band is called Necro, and I literally pulled my phone so I don't say it wrong.
Right.
It's Necronomicon. 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 And like I said, not to be mistaken for Necrogoblicon.
Right.
So great stuff from those guys.
Nice. Well, I guess that will do it for another episode of Talk to Me here on notfest.com. Make sure to head over, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave a nice review. That would be super nice to be read on an upcoming episode.
Sure.
Make sure to follow the show, Facebook and Twitter at Talk to Me Talk. And so, for the Talk to Me podcast here, notfest.com, I've been Joshua Toomey.
I am still Chris Akin.
And we will talk to you soon.
See ya.